Family tree. I always used to wonder why the writers of the Bible took time to include long and somewhat boring to read genealogies. One such list is found in Matthew chapter 1 verse 2 to 16. This is the earthly lineage of our Lord Jesus Christ, which consists of 42 generations. With time, I began seeing that there are reasons why those names are included in the scriptures. The family lineage of Jesus is particularly interesting, with some names standing out. My attention was drawn to the following three. Rahab. Rahab is first mentioned in the Bible as the Amorite prostitute who sheltered the spies that had been sent by Joshua to spy out the walled city of Jericho. As the Bible shows us, she and her family were spared by the Israelites when they later destroyed Jericho. Salmon, one of the two spies, later on married Rahab, with whom he begot Boaz. See Matthew chapter 1 verse 5. Through her son Boaz, Rahab became the great-great-grandmother of King David of Israel, from whom Jesus descended. These events indicate to us that our God seeks to include all and sundry in his plans and purposes. Acts chapter 10 verse 34 and 35 records, "So Peter opened his mouth and said, 'Truly I understand that God shows no partiality, but in every nation anyone who fears him and does what is right is acceptable to him.' Some are uncomfortable with the fact that a harlot is part of the human lineage of Jesus, but that is the nature of our God. He is full of grace and desires that all come to him and be part of his eternal plan. While some are ill at ease with her sinful past, Rahab is actually mentioned in the New Testament among the heroes of faith. See Hebrews chapter 11 verse 31. Such are the wonders of God's transforming grace. Ruth. For Ruth, things started out fairly well, but eventually turned around for the worse. First, her father-in-law died. Then, many years later, her husband and brother-in-law also died. Her mother-in-law then decided to return to the land of Judah where she had come from. Ruth decided to go along with her. It was an interesting gesture on Ruth's part, particularly in our day when many mothers-in-law are regarded with a pinch of salt. Unlike Orpah, who returned to her people and their gods, Ruth went with her mother-in-law. And it was in the land of Judah that she got to meet Boaz, a wealthy landowner who later became her husband. She thereby became the great-grandmother of King David of Israel, from whom Jesus descended. It is interesting to know that Ruth was a Moabitess, the tribe that was born out of incest when Lot's firstborn daughter got pregnant by her father. For sure, God can bring beautiful things out of an otherwise impossible situation. A Moabitess widow working as a farm laborer in a foreign land does not exactly sound like a candidate for inclusion in a royal lineage. But because she was in God's plan, Ruth made the cut. Solomon. King Solomon of Israel was probably the wisest and most prosperous man that ever lived. See 1 Kings chapter 3 verse 12 and 13. It would therefore be fitting that he would be part of the family tree of Jesus. But we need to remember a little history about Solomon and his parents. We need to appreciate that there was a story before the glory. His father was King David and his mother was Bathsheba, who is referred to as Uriah's wife. See Matthew chapter 1 verse 6. This brings to mind the scandalous manner in which David acquired Bathsheba as his wife. He first committed adultery with her before arranging for her husband to be murdered. Then he took her as his wife. It was not pretty, and God expressed his disapproval. He rebuked David through Nathan the prophet. In addition, the child that David and Bathsheba bore out of their illicit relationship died. David was repentant and God forgave him of his sin. He then blessed David and Bathsheba with another child, Solomon. I find this rather instructive. God can bring beautiful things out of an otherwise messed up situation. The great Solomon came through that rough patch of the lineage that led to Jesus. The beat goes on. You and I may not see much in our family lineages and backgrounds. But, like we have just seen, that is not a hindrance to God and His plan for our lives. If we let Him have His way with us, He can make something precious out of us and our circumstances. You are probably an orphan or a child born out of wedlock, with no reputation to talk of. You are probably a school or college dropout. You are probably a drug addict or alcoholic whom everyone has written off. Whatever your situation, there is hope. The God who created you has a plan for your life. God does not call the qualified. Rather, He qualifies those He calls. God is the master of turnaround. He is a master refiner. He is here today with the power to heal, deliver, and save. Open up your heart to Him and you will never be the same again. The story is still being written.